Let's make the smooth segue to Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live co-host. Have you tried ayahuasca?
I have not. I mean, I did watch the Aubrey Marcus podcast with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to maybe trying it at some point. I don't know. I don't seem to have any like life struggles in my brain or something I need to overcome right now to make me want to go there. You know that I, habitually like to do other things all the time anyways that replace ayahuasca and help me, get into my own mind and self-reflect and do that. And it's, good old Mary Jane. I like that.
Mary Jane. The reefer?
the reefer, as my dad would call it. Yes.
What did your dad say the first time he knew you'd smoked pot?
He was not happy. I mean, I didn't think this conversation was going to go that way. He was not happy. I definitely went in the early years of maybe college and the NFL where I would hide it from him. And then I got to that point where maybe a year or two in the NFL, and I was like, wait, I'm a grown man. Like, I'm sick of trying to hide around the corner from dad when I'm home visiting him or whatever. And that's when I, kind of broke the ice a little bit. And he's been, very good that way for the most part and letting me be me. And, it's just something I've done. I didn't do it a ton through my NFL career, Dan, honestly. And I'm going to be totally transparent here because, I don't know any other way. I was in the drug program 6 out of the 8 years I played in the league. I always push the limit to, they won't test me right away, or, we got a few weeks, I'll do one more night and smoke a little more. And I ended up always in the drug program. For those who think want to say Chris Sims, he smoked too much pot, that's why I didn't work out. No, that's not right. It's I was actually pretty clean throughout the majority of my career.
How often were they testing back then?
Not that much. Well, listen,
How did you get caught?
Well, I'm a little stupid and a little daring. I mean, we know that. And anybody that knows me, I can push the limits a little bit. So, you'd come back maybe, and back then it was so broad. It could happen anywhere from April to August. So,
okay.
It might be the first week of April, and we don't have to be maybe back in the building to mid-April, late April for OTAs. And I'd go, well, they're not going to get me right when I come back. And of course, that would be the year they'd get me right when I'd come back. And so I made that mistake. And once you're in it for 2 years. So, I'd get in it and then get out of it finally, and then, play with fire again, and then I'd be back in it. And that's kind of what I did.
But do you have meetings where you get together? Or what?
Yeah, it's like you're on parole. It's you have to, and I know things have changed now, but you had to be available for drug testing whenever they said. They would usually drug test you once per week, maybe twice per week, and you had to let them know where you were at all times. So if I traveled somewhere or anything like that, you had to call in and be like, hey, I'm going to be at this address.
Wow.
I'm going to be here for a few days. And of course, when you did travel, there was always somebody that showed up. So it was a pain in the butt. And yeah, you did actually have to see a doctor where, they could kind of help you out with your so-called addiction and in therapy that way, which that was probably the most annoying part.
We'll make the awkward
yeah.
segue here. Why is Deshaun Watson, why would the Browns have him start Friday night? What's the rationale?
Yeah, well, I think the rationale is it's a guy that hasn't played hasn't played in a long time. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You're a huge sports fan and watch it all. I don't care who you are. When you've gone this long of a period of time without playing football, especially the quarterback position, which really can't be emulated in practice, the crowd, the pressure of the moment. Wait, I'm actually going to get really hit now, so I got to make decisions, and some guy's trying to tear my head off. It's not like riding a bike. We've seen, the greatest quarterbacks ever, Peyton Manning, be hurt and come back and have a little bit of a slow start. Think about Tom Brady after he hurt his knee in 2008 and 2009. He wasn't, the Tom Brady we remembered before the injury, especially not right away. So I would think that's the big thing. They just want to get him out there and get some live action because they've invested a lot of money into him.
But I got to get Jacoby Brissett ready because he's going to be the starter for at least the first 6 games.
I hear you, no doubt. I think it'll be a lot more than 6 games, really, when it's all said and done. But yeah, that's where I do feel for Kevin Stefanski and the coaching staff there in Cleveland. I don't think they were the ones raising their hands, begging for this situation, to happen. They're kind of stuck in a tough situation. They're trying to do the best with it. But yeah, they have to balance. I think, especially, hey, early on preseason game 1, I understand the Deshaun Watson start. Maybe as we get to preseason game number 3, and if Watson isn't suspended by that time, that's when you see Jacoby Brissett start, and they go, okay, now we got to get into season mode here. Deshaun will get you some reps here at some point during the game or whatever else. But I would think they'll change their thought as we get deeper into training camp or deeper into the preseason. But Dan, I still don't think he's going to play tomorrow night. I think that ruling's going to come down here in the next 24 hours. I would be shocked. I don't think the NFL and the powers.
But do you think the commissioner is saying to this guy, the former attorney general, I don't want him on TV. I don't want him out there. I need your ruling by, tomorrow afternoon.
No, I don't know if he's flat out saying it like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's gotten some context clues about what they would like. We all know how sensitive they are, and rightly so, about protecting the shield. This is a hot button topic, and certainly Deshaun did not act appropriately here for a long, long time. And I don't think the NFL wants this to dominate the first real week 1 of preseason, where all we're going to talk about is Deshaun Watson if he plays on Friday night, and he's going to be on every screen associated with the Shield. And I would got to think that, Goodell and some of the other powerful owners don't want that look on the league.
We're talking to Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live, co-host with Mike Florio. You can see it preceding this show on Peacock, and of course, former NFL quarterback and contributor to Football Night in America. You played for the Patriots. Help me understand. It felt like the media became obsessed with the struggles of Mac Jones the last couple of days. And I thought, what am I missing here? Does it matter that and is the offense different this year than it was last year when he won 10 games?
I don't think it'll be different, especially not at this point. I know that crew up there and, of course, played for Josh McDaniels in Denver a little bit. They're the type that goes like, hey, wait, here's 10 plays, and we're going to master these 10 plays before we move on. They're not going to get too deep into the playbook or, game planning, different schemes or anything like that.
So the defense knows what's happening.
Yes, the defense knows what's happening. We know it's a very good, talented defense there for sure. And then the other thing that I think this is where I don't hit the panic button quite yet. And the situation's weird and it's different, as far as the rest of the NFL. We'd probably be a lot more critical if it was anybody else besides the New England Patriots. But in Bill Belichick, we trust.
Yeah, but we wouldn't know about this if it was another team.
You're right. We might not. You're right. We might not. I mean, but either way, the fact that they don't have an offensive coordinator title, it is strange. But this is where I think they're different than a lot of teams. They do not script for success in practice. There's a lot of teams that, hey, they're figuring out the practice schedule and they go, the offensive coordinator, hey, we're going to run this play. So can you run this defense, right? And it's all about gaining confidence and getting rhythm. And there's a lot of that goes on in NFL camps. New England doesn't care. They don't do it that way. They are like, hey, you figure out the plays you're going to run. We'll figure out what we're going to do over here. And it might look ugly, but that's the way football is. We're not going to make it the perfect coverage for your perfect little play so you guys feel good. And I can remember being there and with Tom Brady and seeing practices with him where it wasn't, an absolute precision show because they make things tough. They make things game-like. And I think that's why they're usually better in games than maybe sometimes it can look in practice. But yeah, when I was with John Gruden and other places, there was constantly script for success because the defense can learn how to play anything against anything. So you always go, well, hey, they're going to have to defend this play at some point in this coverage. But, yes, we had a lot of times where the first 8 plays were, hey, this play, we're going to run it against the exact coverage we want, and hopefully we can execute it. And like I said, New England doesn't quite roll like that. I hope I explained that clearly enough.
No, I get it. I understand it. That, it's not pretty, but it's not meant to look pretty. It's meant to be like this could be what we face. Not
exactly.
The defense we didn't expect. Now what do we do with something like that?
Exactly. We're going to coach off that, and we're going to adjust. And, okay, when that happens to us in a game in week 1, what are we going to do there? And that's where they're special that way, in my opinion.
You have certain teams, certain coaches that want to win every preseason game. The Ravens, I think, 20 games in a row? Like, you don't accidentally win 20 consecutive preseason games. Tell me the difference in philosophy with coaches. Did you have coaches who did want to win and coaches who didn't really care about the bottom line?
Yes, I definitely. I mean, and it depended on the year. There was years I feel like with maybe John Gruden in Tampa where he might game plan a few plays for the preseason to stoke a little confidence and get some rhythm going in the offense and the team that way. There might be years like that, and then there might have been another year where hey, we feel like we're pretty good and we're just going to run our core plays and do what we got to do there. So it depends. And then, of course, it depends on who you're playing, too, because sometimes you play a team where, hey, we're going to keep it vanilla this week. And then you get out in the preseason game and you go, oh, crap, they're doing some stuff that we haven't really, talked about in practice or figured out quite yet. And you got to readjust. So that's where the preseason sometimes could be, hard to dictate or tell, where teams are at times. And that's certainly, a part of it, no doubt.
Always good to talk to you, Chris. Thanks for joining us. And
all right, buddy.
Thanks.
You the man. Tell the guys I said hi.
That's Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live, co-host with Mike Florio.